Video games are full of secrets. They're often packed with hidden levels, bonus items, Easter eggs to be searched for and discovered. Even the terminology around games reflects this. Content is unlocked as though it were tucked away in some secret vault, hidden under lock and key. Sometimes this hidden content goes unnoticed for years, decades perhaps, in the case of the secret room in A Link to the Past, or the instant knockout tricks in Punch-Out. Given the convoluted and inorganic manner in which some of these secrets are discovered, one famed Easter egg in Resident Evil 2 requires searching an empty desk 50 consecutive times, for example. It's no wonder they can linger uncovered for years. It's also no wonder that urban legends and hoaxes hold such sway within gaming culture too. It isn't hard to believe that secret characters in Street Fighter or hidden adult content in Tomb Raider exist when compared to these Byzantine riddles after all. Especially in the 1980s and 1990s, before the advent of instant fact-checking online, rumours and urban legends passed from gamer to gamer in arcades, playgrounds, and huddled in the cathode ray glow of the latest new release. But not all legends rely on hidden lines of code or convoluted puzzle solving. Sometimes a hoax lingers outside of the game, assuming the public will go along with it without even booting up a loading screen. Sometimes even the hoax is the game itself. Let's go back in time for a moment. It's 1981. Pac-Man still reigns supreme at the arcades, but Donkey Kong, Frogger, Galaga and Defender all vie for attention in smoky rooms, flashing lights and attract screens yearning to take your last coin. Kids and adults alike jockey for high scores, unsure of whether to work on perfecting their favourite cabinet or take a chance on the newest offering. We're in Portland, Oregon, home of Silicon Forest, a northern counterpart to California's Silicon Valley, and the operating base of several large tech companies. We're in a small arcade. Maybe it's located in one of the booming shopping malls that painted such a lasting picture of the decade. Kids are huddling around the newest coin-operated cabinet, drawn by its bright graphics and intriguing displays. Lighting up their faces are the glowing letters of its title, Polybius. The queue to play grows and grows. People feed their last quarters into the machine, entranced. Even when their gameplay comes to a close, they're hard-pressed to look away. Swirling colours, vector graphics, and pulsating sounds occupy their thoughts. Even long into the night after they've gone home, lying in bed beneath posters of Kim Carnes and Stevie Nicks. Its visuals stayed with them in their waking hours as hallucinations, and during sleep as night terrors. They convulsed with seizures, they lost their memories, and they came back the next day to play it again. Maybe they had to wait while men in dark suits serviced the cabinet, taking notes, tuning its circuitry. But they kept coming back until one day the cabinet was gone, leaving behind no evidence of its existence, save for those nightmares and seizures. That's the legend anyway. That's how it was related in the first verifiable mention of Polybius that can be found. A 1998 post on coinop.org, a website devoted to cataloguing arcade games and cabinets. This listing began to circulate around the nascent internet, still a place then of half-truths and conjecture, as much a web of rumours and fantasy as of information and fact. People shared their recollection of the game as truth, adding to the lore behind it. Polybius was, as the story goes, the product of a company called Sinneslosken, tasked by the CIA to engineer software that could be used as a form of mind control and to deliver subliminal messaging. Polybius, of course, never existed. What could be passed off as fact in 1998 doesn't hold up to scrutiny today. No verified record of the game's existence have turned up in over 20 years, and supposed players can't agree on what genre of game it was meant to have been. The name of its developer, Sinneslosken, is grammatically incorrect German, which can be translated as sense deletion, which is a clearly on-the-nose in-joke. And more tellingly, the name Polybius was taken from a Greek historian from the 2nd century BC, who stressed that history should only be written from the testimony of first-hand witnesses and not from conjecture. Even the original 1998 date of its first discussion is fraught with doubt. The posting may have been made in the year 2000, with the 1998 date appended mistakenly by a database error on coinop.org. Freedom of Information requests in the United States have turned up no listing of the game in the FBI archives. Just like man, it is nothing more than a miserable pile of secrets. A fine myth then, but one worth dissecting to see just how such a story can come together, compiling layers of real-world influence like code to create a finished entity. There are legitimate pieces of video game history which veer close to the Polybius legend, and it is entirely possible that some of these instances either inspired the original hoax or have been misremembered by others later, creating false memories of this phantom game which helped perpetuate the legend. The bare components of the story: a mysterious arcade cabinet, dazzling and dizzying graphics, seizures and hallucinations, all have their counterpart in the real world. An arcade in Portland, Oregon really did see several gamers collapse in the early 1980s. November 1981 saw a 12-year-old boy fainting in the arcade after a 28-hour gaming binge fueled by sugar and caffeine, although his game of choice had been Asteroids. That same arcade, on the same day, was also where a player experienced the seizure in response to the flashing graphics of a Tempest cabinet. Although not released until 1983, the game Cube Quest has also been pointed out as a potential influence. The game was run with the aid of a laserdisc to produce graphics far ahead of the norm for its time, but this novel technology also led to it needing regular servicing and often being quickly rotated out of arcades, perhaps leading to the impression of a mysterious cabinet being attended to by the men in black of the rumours. The persistent hallucinations too can be traced to extant video game lore. Although not strictly confined to the realm of video games, psychologists have since described the Tetris effect, the continued visualization of elements of a repetitive task even after the task has ended. Tetris players report seeing the game's iconic falling blocks in the corners of their eyes even after finishing gameplay, and has similarly been described by chess players, solvers of Rubik's Cubes, or even described in relation to military marching in the poetry of Rudyard Kipling. Of course, this is to say nothing of the more sinister side of the story: mind control, subliminal messaging, governments testing new technology on their people. The purported 1981 date of the game's release was only a few years after the Church Committee revealed the existence of the CIA's mind control program MK-Ultra, which focused on, among other things, dosing unwitting subjects with LSD in an attempt to engineer suggestible and controllable states of mind. Would the leap from narcotics to electronics have been unbelievable in subsequent years? Coupled with some very real raids on arcades by law enforcement in the 1980s, ostensibly for breaches of gambling laws, the connection is an easy one to convince people of. Taken in isolation or together, these elements can certainly linger in the mind, pieced together by a creative fraudster to spin an engaging myth, or triggered into coalescing to create those vague half-memories that people swear they have of Polybius. Although not real in the strictest sense, the game lives on as a cult icon, with references in pop culture and mocked-up versions of gameplay circulating. Fabricated cabinets sit in trendy modern arcades as a wry wink to gaming's past, but these modern recreations are perfectly harmless. Go ahead and stick a quarter into one if you find a chance. What's the worst that could happen?